right. Oh. Wow. What a day. Hello, people in the chat. Hello. Just waiting for myself to pop up here. Once again, it's not showing me the entire chat. Hello, I'm live. It's the Nazarite, a Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore, God willing. And this truly is lore from yore, if there ever was a lore and if there ever was a yore. Something in the chat, it starts at 7:24 p.m. my time when Sneezer said something, but he's obviously responding to someone, so I don't know what went. I don't know what went on in the chat. Hello, Rusty. Hello, Tea Time. Hello, Jesse. Oregon Freebird is here. What fun. And Robert Harrison and Sneezer. Holger, Shalom Nazarite, and chat. Hey, hi there, and hello. So it's a new moon. May it be a blessed moon. May it be a bountiful and may we be able to bring peace. Did you see what I sent you? I saw it right before I went online. Well, I saw that you had sent it, and I went in there. Okay, let's start with Orot HaTshuvah. Let's just dive right in. So in my previous channel, I had, I don't know how many, a good series of videos on Orot HaTshuvah. And I will just dive right into it. So it's a book by Rabbi Yaakov Kook, the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel. He died in 1935. This book was published in 1924. And I will begin with, there's a preface by one of his disciples, and then an introduction by him. Or is it the other way around? Okay. These are the words of Rabbi Moshe Tzvi Neriah, who was his disciple. He died in the 90s, and he says, "This book, small in quantity and of great quality, was one whose author was very fond of. And even he himself would study it on the days of Elul, that's this month, that's beginning now with the new moon, after the morning prayer. And his student, Rabbi Pinchas Hamburger of Lita, told me that Rav Kook said, quotes, I worked a lot on Orot HaTshuvah, on the lights of returning. Whoever looks at it properly will find light on each and every word, end quote. Rabbi Neriah continues and says, and at the end of Yom Kippur 1933, I gave the date, he says, Tafrish Tzadihei, I heard from his pure mouth, again quoting him, the lights of Tshuvah should be studied without limit. There's the preface. And small in quantity, great in quality. I can certainly attest to that as somebody who's been wrapped up in this book for many years. And I, over time, have seen not the light on each and every word, though I don't doubt it's there. And I keep going back to this book, learning new things, seeing new things, being drawn to new passages. The lights of Tshuvah should be studied without limit, said Rav Kook. And I've found that to be true as well. Now let's go with the introduction by Rav Kook. With the help of God, he says. That's how he starts it. For some time, wait, some water. The tea is still very hot. So, says Rav Kook in his introduction to Orot HaTshuvah. For some time I have been fighting an internal war, and a strong spirit pushes me to talk about Tshuvah. And all my ideas are focused only on it. Tshuvah occupies the greater part in Torah and in life, on which all personal and public hopes are built. It is God's commandment. It's God's commandment, which on the one hand is easy, because reflection on returning is already Tshuvah. And on the other hand, it is a difficult request, which has not yet come to fruition in the world and in life. Okay, I'll stop there and then continue. The internal war, to talk about Tshuvah, all his ideas focused on it. I love the way he words it in the Hebrew and this particular translation. Some of it's me, some of it's Google.
He says Tshuvah occupies the greater part in Torah and in life, and he says it is God's commandment. And it's a dispute among those who enumerated the 613 commandments on whether or not returning, repenting, is actually a commandment. Some say, yes, it's definitely a commandment. As it's written, right? Orot HaTshuvah, after you're in exile, should it come to that, then you will return. And so people see it as a mitzvah, a commandment, one of the 613, saying, yes, you should have tshuvah be a mitzvah aseh, a thou shalt commandment. Others who enumerate the mitzvahs leave it out of the 613. And they say, no, tshuvah is the origin and the destination and the journey, but it's not a mitzvah in and of itself. It's the rest of the Torah which guides you to returning, to repenting, to being who you really could be, amplifying that image of God. Tshuvah literally means to return or to repent. It also means an answer in a different context. Continues Rav Kook and says, I find myself inclined to think and talk only about it, right, tshuvah. Much is written in the Torah, in the prophets, and in the words of the sages about it. And for our generation, things are still obscure and need clarification. Literature, wandering in all the corners where there is poetry and life, has not yet penetrated at all into this wonderful treasure of life, the treasure of tshuvah. Truly, it hasn't even begun to be interested in it, to know its character and value, let alone its poetic side, which is heartwarming to no end. And what's more, says Rav Kook, we still haven't laid a finger on this, on its practical side, especially in what concerns our new life situations. So again, he says, I find myself driven, always thinking about tshuvah. A lot is written across the pages of the Jewish literature and history on tshuvah. And on the one hand, it's easy because they say, Hirehuru tshuvah, hukvar tshuvah, meaning reflecting, thinking, pondering, walking with tshuvah is already tshuvah. On the other hand, it has never come to fruition fully in the world and in life. Okay, let's continue. And this is the final paragraph. Hang on. Right, and how literature, he says, there's poetry and life in tshuvah that literature has not yet begun even to be interested in. Right, so this is 1924, so the 1920s. And he continues and says in this final paragraph, wait, hang on. Oh, there we go. He says, Rav Kook says, I am driven from my innermost bones to speak about the word of tshuvah, and I myself am repulsed by my thought. Should I speak about the words of tshuvah, Orot HaTshuvah, right, of tshuvah? The great ones of the past generations, the purer prophets and sages, the greater chassids. And by chassids, not necessarily modern day chassidism, but chassid meaning somebody pious and who goes the extra mile. They wrote about tshuvah, he says, and how can I stand among them? But no weakness in the world will be able to relieve me of my inner demand. I must speak about tshuvah, and precisely on its literary and practical side, to understand its content in our generation, and to fulfill it in life, in individual life, and in public life. There's the introduction to Orot HaTshuvah. I'll just go through that final paragraph. Again, he says that he's driven. That repeats itself several times. And he's disgusted with himself. He's repulsed by the thought of what me write about tshuvah. And the voice comes back and says, yes, you. I must speak about tshuvah, precisely as it pertains to our generation, right? He says, I wouldn't presume to stand among them talking of their generation, but of this generation here, I'm here. And we are all here to fulfill it in life, individually and in public. What a lovely introduction, in my opinion. You'd think it's like what Louis C.K. says, if you raise your kids religious, all this, do that. But no, whether tshuvah is a commandment or whether it's something that the commandments lead to and are derived from, and right? It's the origin and the destination and the journey. returning to who we could be, returning to the place where it all got messed up, returning. Orot HaTshuvah. So Tshuvah, Elul. We can start the Q&A. I'll just say one thing before. This month of Elul is called Chodesh HaRachamim VeHaslichot, a month of mercies, right? Of mercy and forgiveness. Coming to the high holidays in a month exactly is Rosh Hashanah, which is the new year, Orthodox-wise, rabbinically, Yom Hadin, Yom Tshvuah. Not biblically. Biblically, the new year is the 1st of Nisan, the first month, and this is it will be the 7th month. The first of the 7th month, Yom Tshvuah, is also Yom Hadin, Day of Judgment, Rosh Hashanah, as it's known. And Chodesh Elul is when they say that God has a revelation of a king. And many times, the common man or woman can't approach the king, even if they manage to make it to the palace, the hall. They won't necessarily get an audience. They'll, who the hell are you? What do you have? Get out of here. Right? Like Kuzco in The Emperor's New Groove. I'm sorry, you've thrown off the Emperor's Groove. And so I haven't tossed out the window. And it's said that in the month of Elul, Hamelech Basadeh, the king is in the field. In other words, it's out there. Hamelech Basadeh, the king is roaming the field. He is not in his palace. He is not in his hall. He is roaming the field. That revelation. And it doesn't say the king is in your home. It doesn't say the king is in your heart. It doesn't say the king is in your mind. It says Hamelech Basadeh, meaning the field outside of where, right, the field, the outdoors, in the sense of not a place where there's a lot of residence or residency, not a town, outside of the town, right, in the woods, in the fields. Hamelech Basadeh. Even if one feels that they are, for whatever reason, that God is unapproachable, for whatever reason, then this is a month where God is not in his hall, not in his chamber. That revelation of God is in the field, which is, like I said, not your home, not your body, it's somewhere you need to go to get out of your home, leave the comfort zone, maybe face some difficult dangers in the field, in the woods. The king is there. It's on us to make a move. And you can see it also literally as the positive. He's not in his hall. He's out there with the common people in the field. Maybe like a field where they're not past the limits of the town. Either way, that revelation is among us. Hamelech Basadeh. Rav Kook himself, as I read in the preface, Rav Kook himself would study this very book during the months of Elul. And he said it needs to be studied without limit. את אורות התשובה צריך ללמוד בלי גבול. יש ללמוד בלי גבול. Oh, I only have one copy of Orot HaTshuvah. It's a mini copy that fits in your pocket. And I thought I lost it a couple of times throughout my life, and each time I found it, I located it. Sometimes after a few weeks or a month, I don't even know. The last time I lost it was many moons and years ago. It's a part of me. It's a part of my life in the sense that I carry it with me in my backpack. The lights of Tshuvah. Okay, let's see if there's anything in the chat right now. Does anyone have anything to say about the introduction? Did I do it justice? Was I too cottonmouthy? Okay. Sneezer says, exactly 1 year ago on Facebook, I mentioned there wouldn't be many of us left because of them shots and to pick your Olympic event. Seems someone read and thought breakdancing. Them shot? You mean there wouldn't be many of us left to compete in the Olympics? I don't know. What happened a year ago? I'm ignorant. I thought the Olympics was this year in Paris, and so last year it couldn't have been. But pick your Olympic event? Them shots? I'm not sure what you mean, but You meant pick for the future. Okay. Was this the first time that breakdancing was an Olympic thing? I'm assuming. Did you see what I sent? Can you comment on it? You know what? I'll go quickly into my Facebook. I need to be reminded of what it was. I did it right before, and then I read the, Orot HaTshuvah thing. Hold on. What an introduction. And what a preface, and what a book. I hope, God willing, that these live streams for the month of Elul will be on Orot HaTshuvah. Not reading it linearly. I didn't do it last time, too. Last time, when I had that series in my old channel before it was deleted, I did it non-linearly, too. A thing from here, a thing from there. Okay, notifications, inbox. Here we go. There. Tea time. Tea time. Wait, the Babylonian source of the donkey? Say, do not... Okay, I'm not trying to judge. Thought it was interesting. It is interesting. So, in Sanhedrin 98a, Masechet Sanhedrin, in the Babylonian Talmud, it discusses the idea of if Israel merit it, Messiah will come with the clouds of heaven. And if they don't merit it, if they don't merit redemption, it says, the Messiah will come lowly and riding upon a donkey. Right? Ani ve'rochev al chamo, which is from the prophets. Wait, which one is it? Not Hosea? I don't recall. Even if we don't have the same faith, he says, even if we don't have the same faith, I respect you. Much appreciated. And I have my beliefs. Okay. Okay. I have no comment on it. This is one of the things which doesn't necessarily lead to halacha, which is what makes the Talmud and the Mishnah a lot more than simply a book of Jewish rabbinic Orthodox code. It's also a corpus of lore and some myth and other things. And again, this is all by the time it gets here to the practical level written down, an oral Torah written down. The root is none of these things. It comes here in that form. So here there's no specific halacha, right? The tractate Sanhedrin talks about, yes, you guessed it, the Sanhedrin, and is it Dinei Nefashot? I don't recall now. But the Sanhedrin, right, which is the great court, the great assembly. If they merited this, if they do not merit it, that. Because there's a contradiction between two depictions of the coming of the Messiah. Okay? But you know my view on this, that if we merit it, truly, we can bypass the king and the anointed and the temple. We can bypass it. It didn't exist in Eden. It didn't exist for way after that. What did exist is returning. Tshuvah. That's what did exist. And I see all the ritual worship, the kingship. It's spoken of and prophesied, but is it completely necessary? I'm inclined to say no. If we manage somehow, through our own individual and collective will and action, we manage to return spiritually to that place of Eden, conceptually speaking, and to some degree spiritually speaking, and be a place where we are one unified human race, just us and nature and God, as it were, walking in the garden, that sort of concept and that sort of life, then we're back. And I don't know if we'll need a king, and I don't know if we'll need a Messiah. There have been many Messiahs, priests, prophets, and kings alike. And I hope that we see the return of prophecy and the kingship and the priesthood if we need it. You could definitely use it, man. Again, I say a vegan temple, but man, we could use it. I saw you at Papa John's. Not likely. I've never eaten Papa John's. Green Bonnet trucks. What kind of trucks? Do share, Green Bonnet. Nick, I am not Jewish. My name is Nick David Hagen. Hey there, Nick David Hagen. It's cool if you're not Jewish. Not everybody is. That's simply the way it goes. In fact, most of the world, most of humanity throughout history has not been Jewish. So it's all good, Mr. Nick. Rusty says, small in quantity but great in quality is going to be my new pickup line to women. Yes, katan kamut v'rav eichut. It rhymes. Well, it rhymes in English as well, but it's more compact. Katan kamut rav eichut. Rav Kook Nazarite. So the Rav Kook Nazarite, Rabbi David Kohen HaNazir, he died in 1973, I think. He was a disciple and also a study partner and confidant, I would think, of Rav Kook, Rav HaNazir. I have Rav HaNazir's book, The Voice of Prophecy, Kol HaNevuah, in its new edition, right behind me. And I am very happy to, I wouldn't presume to be versed in Orot HaTshuvah or in Rav Kook's teaching in any way, shape, or form. Remember, I am ignorant, okay? I'm not learned, not educated, not a scholar, I'm not a Talmud Chacham. We are all Samson, says Blood Nose. How do you mean we are all Samson? And do you mean Samson or Sampson? Because sometimes Shimshon, it doesn't have a pay. It's Shimshon, which is like a little sun, by the way. Sun in Hebrew is Shemesh. Shalom Sneezer, shalom everyone. There are two kinds of people in the world, those that can extrapolate incomplete data. Nice. Holy crap, Ned Flanders. Christopher Motley says, well, haddly deedly doodly, neighborino. User GER2222 says, Yeshua's in the field, he says. Robert Harrison says, Jesse Links. Hi, Jesse. Why don't people understand Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is the only God? For the same reason that I can't say that I fully have understood it. So many reasons. Like an endless amount of reasons. Seriously. It's like they say that he that has a Y can bear any how. To you, it's like, why don't people understand this? Because they are not you. That's the main answer here. Because they are not you. That's it. Questionable. Believer in the everlasting life says Yeshua is at the right hand of the Father. Could very well be. Believer in the everlasting life. Pardon me, Mr. Believer. What, in your opinion, what is everlasting life? If you had to give a quick definition, I won't hold you to it and bind you in it, but a quick definition on what you consider to be everlasting life. Rusty says, Christopher Motley, I am always confused by supposedly fully grown men who feel the need to comment on another man the way you just did. Get a life. Well, now boys, let's not fight. We like to keep it civil and polite here in the stream. Though I won't block you or censor you or remove you or ban you either. So have at it if you want. Jonah went to Nineveh on Elul. Oh yeah? I didn't recall that. That makes perfect sense, actually. The Holy Spirit, says believer, the Holy Spirit is in the believer. Some God is always with it. Is in the believer, so God is always with it. Okay? So once again, what do you consider to be the Holy Spirit? What does that mean to you? Because in the Hebrew faith, generally speaking, we have a Ruach HaKodesh, which is not Holy Spirit as I understand it. The Holy Spirit, for instance, couldn't do what some Christians or all Christians say happened, which is a virgin birth, impregnated by the Holy Spirit. Ruach HaKodesh is more of a type of lower level prophecy, and it's a well of information, a pool of data, of knowledge that you can extrapolate from, and not quite, I think, able to impregnate. However, it is also anthropomorphized to some degree, where it screams and it yells and it mourns, but Ruach HaKodesh is that lower form of prophecy. Okay. Hey, Fakaremin, shalom from Florida. How is it? Says user GER. How is it? I'll tell you. It is. That's how. So neither says to Jesse, but back then it meant equal to. The Torah says no one is with, right? Ein od milevado. Right, correct. The Torah says that's the name. That's the name of the Hebrew God. Many names, obviously. Some appear in Torah, and some appear in the oral traditions, and some appear in the written traditions. Many of them. But yes, the Torah states time and again that one God, Elohei Elohim Adonai HaAdonim, right, the Lord of Lords and God of gods. Which is to say, yes, other forces exist in this world, forces of nature, forces of spiritual nature. But don't be fooled and remember what you're shooting for. You don't go for the dualities. That's the world we live in, a world post-Eden, good and evil. You don't go for that. You go for the root. You go for the point where it's one. And through the duality, you get to the one. Who is God, says Benova. I don't know God, Benova. Sorry to disappoint you. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. Through anything and everything and Torah and love. Tea time question. Where is Elijah the prophet? Is Elijah, after being on the chariot, is he fleshy man or spirit? So, according to tradition, Elijah was taken away in a divine storm of chariots of fire and horses of fire. Avi Avi Rechav Yisrael v'parashav, Elisha says, and he is gone. And Elisha knows it. And the disciples say, hey, we'll send a search party out. We'll look for him. He says, don't bother. They say, we'll do it anyway. He says, all right. They go, they don't find anything. And he said, I told you. Eliyahu was taken away, but he doesn't die. And he receives a new set of clothing, a spiritual garment. And when he is here, they say, visiting on this world again as the angel of the covenant, he usually takes the appearance of more humanoid, not angelic. Eliyahu Malach HaBrit. Eliyahu is said to precede that coming of the day of the Lord. Eliyahu, for a very long time, he was a zealot, and he was very slaughtering the Har Carmel. Eliyahu broke a commandment, the Oraita, in order to rally the people. At Har Carmel, there was an altar there. There should not have been an altar there. He repaired the altar at Mizbach Adonai. He repaired the altar of Adonai, and he sacrificed livestock on it, right? Animals on it. What is it? Not three goats. I don't know, whatever. No, I'm thinking of a shaleshu. So no, it's one animal. Is it a goat? I don't recall now. Either way, where is Elijah? Elijah has work to do in the spiritual realms and in this world. In this world, he is known more as an advisor, somebody who is revealed to people who merit it, perhaps sometimes to those even who don't. I don't know. He teaches Torah, and he meets different people at different times, and he is said to make a kind of comeback. Because he never died, it means that he still has something of the humanity of this world, in the sense of the angel of the covenant will be helping to fulfill that covenant, let's say. And Eliyahu, that was so persecuted and so despised by Achav and Izebele, he went through such a trip, oh my God, and betrayal and the famine. And now he is the angel of the covenant who gets to bring other people back into Torah, and he signifies that covenant with the 8th day for a male baby boy, right? Where the covenant of circumcision, Eliyahu is the sandak, Eliyahu is the spiritual godfather. Eliyahu makes an appearance in Pesach, in the Passover, right? The holiday of spring, the holiday of matzahs, the holiday of freedom, liberation. He makes an appearance there. There's a goblet that's set aside at the Seder table for him. The covenant. When Israel first took it on, when they were liberated from Egypt, so they may go worship Adonai in the desert. So after being on the chariot, Elijah became a kind of angel. Only the thing is, he is not all angel. There's still a human side to him. He simply got a different job, right? He was transferred. He's now in a different department, but he makes visits to the main branch here. Well, actually, the main branch is probably up there, but you know what I mean. This is but a reflection of the spiritual realm, and as such, he can be in both and has a job in both. So he is not fleshy man, no. More of a spirit. Spirit / angel, messenger. Okay. Believer says Ruach HaKodesh is the best teacher. See, once again, I'm not sure how you mean it, but definitely I agree. So Nizar says to Jesse, you have to take into consideration the authors and intended audience. Torah was written only for Hebrews, or at least thusly encoded after, while the New Testament is for the world. Yes, I'm inclined to agree. User says, I need a scarecrow for my field. I think it would fit in lovely with when you're not busy, that is. Unfortunately, I'm very busy, but I would love to. Now, please tell me, this is important, what are you growing, user GER? What are you growing? Sneezer says to Jesse, which also explains your why. Yes. Yes. You have to take into consideration. So yeah. I think I would be a pretty good scarecrow. Because in the breeze, this would move, and I would appear to be alive, and this would move. You know, I'm not just standing there. I'm me. Plus, I'll be making faces at them a lot. You know, the birds. Jesse says, Moses says the Torah is for everyone. It was given to Israel to give to the world. The commandments are for Israel. The Torah has a universal element to it, I suppose. Different things that are written in the Torah are said to have preceded it. What is it? The scroll, not the scroll, the tablet of, what is it? I'll remember. It's not Agamemnon. It's not Gilgamesh, but it's in that, it's in that field of names. Okay. Hammurabi? Maybe I'm thinking of Hammurabi. Who knows what became of him after? Right, so there's the Orthodox rabbinic tradition. Again, not versed in it, but what I said, basically. So Nizar says, but later, Jesse, later one of the prophets declares God's law will be written to man's heart, no longer needing the flawed words and associated misunderstandings. Yes, that's that it would be on the heart, right? That will be definitely written in the heart, right? When we will be able to not stiffen our neck, and we will circumcise our heart. And that's a verse in Torah. Heavily paraphrased, which one I'm not sure. So yeah, it came into words. It's said that the Torah was around 874. I'm sorry, not 800. 974 generations. 974 generations, right? Tatkad? 974 generations before creation, or before creation of the world. The Torah was dancing before God as a black fire written on white fire. Fire. It came into words, right? That's supposed to be something that's, right? It's supposed to teach us something about the nature of Torah. First, God looked at the Torah and created the world. The Torah is a blueprint. The Torah is code. The Torah is all names of God, consecutively written, and in, with all of the, it's all there. And there's also the actual, practical, de facto, this life, post-Eden, good and evil, right and wrong, yin and yang. These are thou shalt not, how to behave, what to do, what to say, what not to say. It's the whole spectrum of creation, and before it. It would be written on man's heart, yes, and we wouldn't need the flawed words. When it's like a fire written, right, black fire on white fire, when we have the balance of black and white, and it's in our heart, which is also divided. And when it's written there, not to be erased. Because you're not allowed to erase, when you're writing it with the quill, you're not allowed to erase a letter of Torah. You can You're not allowed to erase any of the names, that is. If I'm not mistaken. I don't know, I'm not versed in the halachas of stam, of the being a scribe, but I've spoken to a few and seen some videos. Had a few friends who are scribes too, in my yeshiva days. Okay, so yeah, flawed words. I know what you mean. I do, or at least in the way I understand it. Okay, Robert says when Elijah, that is, went to heaven, he changed to a new body. Right, so again, this is heaven that's not Eden. It's a heaven which is the heavens, the spiritual realms, the spiritual halls, right, where none of this human conceptual, ideation and speech, none of it comes. These are terms we use to find connection, but it definitely not is what it is. There's no up and down, left and right. And yet we know, right, the 10 Sefirot, there's a number. And there are lines. And there are 10. I said it's a number. What I mean to say is that like each they're into, and still that's not what it is. It's a way to perceive it. It's all about how to perceive God. Because I don't know God. I just know how God reveals himself to me, how I perceive the divine through the 10 Sefirot, right? Through Torah, through commandments. The flawed words, that's kind of the same thing with being in this body and Elijah taking on a new job. It's like the Torah will be the Torah, and it will be written on our heart, and there will be no misunderstanding. We are here in a flawed world, so to speak, in a broken world. Right? We are broken light. We are the rainbow. We need to get back to the origin. I love the Torah. I can't help it, Sneezer, says Jesse. Indeed, she is a very sensuous and amazing lover and partner, the Torah. I don't remember who it is, but I do remember that it's not a midrash, it's a commentary on the Torah, and I think it's based off Mishlei. I don't recall what verse it's based off of, but they liken the Torah, the commentator, I forget his name. Could be that I forgot it literally 5 minutes after someone showed it to me, but they showed it to me in relation to something else we were talking about. This commentator, I don't know his name, he likens the Torah to a fiance. Right? You don't have physical touch with your fiance until you're actually married, until there's the kiddushim, the nisuim. You are sanctified for each other, but there's not yet consummation, and so there's the physical barrier, the touch barrier is not broken. And so the Torah is like an effiance, right? Like a fiance. Only when you commit to it fully will it reveal all of its wonders to you. And the fiancé can tease you, and it can seem like really, really difficult to have that separation. The Torah as a revelation, the Torah as how am I supposed to be in the world. Right? Torah is teaching. That's what Torah means. Milshon lehorot, to teach. The written Torah, the oral Torah, it's there to guide us. It's there to orient us towards the good. Now, obviously, it's subjective because it's an organized religion. There's a spiritual element and a religious element. They intertwine, and they are intertwined so much. But the Torah is like a fiancé. And when you commit yourself to her fully, then a lot more can be revealed to you. And maybe it's by your definition of what fully is, or what to commit fully means. We don't all keep 613 commandments, right? Some of us are not kings, and some of us are not prophets, and some of us are not priests or Levites. Some of us are men, some of us are women. Different commandments for each of those. We don't keep all 613. We want to act and behave in such a way and make the opportunity to fulfilling commandments that are as 613. Right? ותלמוד תורה כנגד כולם. Torah is, like I said, it's the origin and the destination and the journey. Elijah and his new body. Yes, it's a new function, a new kind of body, a spiritual body. They say that when we when we carry out commandments and do good things and are good people, we are creating a garment up in the spiritual realms. It's the thing that we are clothed with when we arrive there after we part of this world. And it's said, try to be a good person. Carry out the commandments, stick to the covenant and to the Torah, and make yourself a beautiful garment to drape yourself in. Interestingly, right? Because a garment, clothing, that's a post-fall, post-sin, post-eating kind of thing. But like I say, the more grievous sin was not taking responsibility. The more grievous sin was the blame shifting and the finger pointing. Because to err is human. Derek Butler, Vegas, really interesting. What, Vegas? Who said what? Who's in Vegas? What happens in Vegas? I've never been to Vegas. Oregon says, I am reading stories of origins in the Bible and ancient Mediterranean literature by author Guy Darshan. It is a very thought-provoking book. Could you give us a tidbit or two in the chat? I'd love to, are you in the beginning? Can you give us a few gems or ideas? Caesar says to Jesse, it's literally impossible to keep all 700 plus rules. Wait, did I miss something? Oh, I love it too from a non-understanding perspective. That's a nice way to put it. Dilbert says, I heard virgin pussy smells and taste like butterscotch candy. Why do you put the quotes in virgin? He says virgin, butterscotch candy. Look, it comes down to two things. Hygiene and arousal. All right. Sneezer says, even the 10 is very, very hard. The rules, 10? You're talking about the 10 commandments, I'm assuming. Derek Butler, are you indeed a butler? Sneezer says, not as much, but love to everyone, thus hating none takes work. To love everyone, thus hating none takes work. 2, not as much. I hear what you're saying. From 613 to 10 to 2, I hear you. What, when, where, how, why? Okay, I'll answer those in rapid fire. What? I farted, not right now, but earlier. At least I think I did. It makes sense that I did, though I wasn't conscious of it, but I'm sure it happened today at some point. I have not been conscious of a fart yet today, but I'm sure it happened. Okay, when? I don't know, but I'm sure it happened. Right? I've got, thank God, good digestion. Robert says, Oregon Freebird, how have you been? Good to see you. What are you doing, Robert Harrison? You're butting in the middle of Derek's thing. We've got a vibe going. All right. Where? Ooh, I'd venture to say in the house. Possibly the John. How? Through my anus. Why? Because I will die if I don't fart. Yeah, that was fun. Okay. Rusty had a message retracted. And I think we all need to know what that message was, Rusty. Jesse says, Sneezer, for now, yes, but when the third temple comes, Lu Yehi, Adonai will gather the nations to Israel. So it's said, it could also be that they will gather digitally and that Israel will spread it, with the internet. Who knows how it will go down? Nobody knows how it will go down. Nobody knows how it will go down. No, nobody knows but Jesus. Ezekiel 46:1. Ezekiel 46:1 says Robert Harrison. JPS Tanakh. Let's go. Thus saith the Lord God, the gate of the inner court that looketh towards the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath day it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened. Yes, certain things are Shabbos, the new moon, having to do with a covenant. Right? The Shabbos is the covenant that throws us back to Eden. And the new moon is the covenant that also throws us back to Eden, because it says that there were 2 lights, Shnei Me'orot Gdolim, 2 big lights, 2 great lights. And then it says the big light and the small light, right? The sun and the moon. And Israel is likened to the moon, Malchut is likened to the moon. And the divine feminine presence is likened to the moon, right? And the way that it affects water. And the idea of the new moon being an atonement, which is why they would bring chatat. They would bring a chatat on the new moon. It's as if God says, bring this sacrifice as if I'm bringing it. A revelation of me bringing a sacrificial offering of atonement for diminishing the moon. Diminishing the moon. Think of the prophecy that says that the moon will shine like the sun, and the sun like the 7 days of creation. The 7 days. The whole thing, start to finish. Not 6 days and then expulsion. No. Genesis 1, the first story. Start to finish. And then on to something new. Another cycle of cycles. So Nezer says to Jesse Links, the third temple has been around 2K years, all whom believe in Jesus. Yes, I've heard that too. And while I'm inclined to agree that we are the temple, the original temple, in the sense of we are created in the image of God, with the potential of being real co-creators here in this world, and manifesting fully that divinity that is within us, if you will, I don't see Jesus as that temple. Nor do I see Selassie, right? Selassie as the temple is, it's either a hymn that was Bob Marley and the Wailers covered, or their original. Might be their original, I don't know. Ave, Ave Christus Rex. Is that Latin? Ave, Ave. Sorry. Ave, Ave Christus Rex. Rex. I don't know what it means. Please enlighten me. Ariel Marshall, your doppelganger loves pizza. Hey, I'm sure a lot of my doppelgangers love pizza. I love pizza too. It's not the same when it's not dairy. So go on. There's just no comparing. XYZ says Jesus Christ is King. Spreading the good news like a good Christian. Good on you, man. I don't believe the same thing you do, but good for you. Evening tzaddikim, evening righteous folk, says Ariel. Suki says hi. You're not the Kyoshi warrior Suki, the Suki, are you? Is it spelled like that? I don't even know. Likely. If you are, I'm a big fan. Get it? Okay. Dilbert says, I'm an alien from outer space. I found this device on the Earth ground. I have a green male alien sexual organ. Well, I'll tell you, alien man Dilbert, you will be able to slay and do a lot of damage with an alien green organ. And assuming that you mean genitalia, not an actual keyboard, I'll just say, because there's a way to play the keyboard that's very sexual. And so, I'll close with this. No, let's see. Call the US, says user GER. Once again, you keep repeating the same thing, and I'm agreeing with you. If I'm under attack, makes sense that I will contact an ally. Who would have thunk? Rusty says to Dilbert, he says Dibbert, but it's Dilbert. We know. We know. You have a brain tumor, I think. Ugh, chas v'shalom. No. May it not be so. Don't wish that on anybody, man. You been circumcised, Ariel says. Yes, I was circumcised, not on the 8th day, because I was born prematurely, but as soon as I was healthy enough, yes. And as for circumcision of the heart, I can't say that I'm there at all, but there's no but. I'm not there at all. Dilbert points at an eggplant. I love eggplant. See, I photographed, because I guess I felt like it. I photographed when I was prepping food for Shabbos, and there was the chili, and there was the rice, and there was the soup. What wasn't in the shot was fried eggplant. That was just outside the frame. Okay. Good Times TV is back. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Get ready. I know the chat. It's now 10 to 10. This came in from Good Times TV at 9:22. And so, I think that by the time it arrives almost half an hour later, I'll be seeing some back and forth. I'm guessing with Sneezer, if he's there, Maybe Yodidiao if he's there, or others, who knows? Or he may just leave after saying hello. Who knows? Let's find out. You probably already know because you've been reading the chat, but I've been ranting and rambling and raving like a lunatic. Oregon says, Jeremiah 31:34 says, someday we will all know God. I wonder what that will look like when it happens. Well, it's that shift of consciousness, ability, and understanding that is so profound, you can only liken it to going back to being a baby. In the sense of a baby lives very naturally, and he forms an equilibrium of some kind with the help of his environment and whatnot. But he's learning all of these things primarily on his own for the first time. Even if he's guided and helped, he needs to learn it. He needs to process it. And Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching, he says, who can solve problems like a baby? And there's the Yanuka. Yanuka is baby in Aramaic, and Yanuka is one of the more venerated characters in the Zohar. Also in Rabbi Nachman's Sipurei Ma'asiyot, his tales. The Yanuka in the tower, in the Maaseh Mishiva Kabetzanim, the seven bettlers. It's a character in that tale where people are in a tower gathered reminiscing about their first memory. And someone says, I remember circumcision. And someone says, I remember before circumcision. And someone says, I remember when I was just a fertilized egg. And someone says, I remember when I was just a thought in the minds of my parents, or the power of the semen in the mind of the father. And then the baby there says, and I remember nothing. And they said, oh, you remember more than everyone. And it was a wonder to them how the youngest one remembered the most. And you know how to do now very complicated things. You have machines built into you, wired into you. Everything from, let's just pretend it's typing that sentence out, knowing how to get, this is all these micro processes that grow, and we do it naturally. A baby couldn't do it. He couldn't grasp it. He couldn't even try to begin to understand how you would type in a comment about the Bible in the chat on YouTube. Can't do it. Can't do it. He is underdeveloped. And yet, that's also where we're going. In the sense of the same difference that between is, let's say, a baby living naturally, like in this equilibrium, being helped, to adulthood, which is like all that complex, or the potential complexity of life, existential angst, all that. And then we go back to the baby, when we know, when we understand. Knowing, right? It has to do biblically with a unification, with a connection, with a cleaving. Something from which real change can occur in this world. Not in the three top sfirot. The connection is always there. Abba and Ima, Chochma and Bina, father and mother, are always in union. It's the bride and the groom. Kud shabrichu shchinte, right? Holy One, blessed be He, and Shechina. That's what Torah is for. That's what commandments are for. This covenant is about that unity of the masculine and feminine divine presence. And that knowledge that we will help to create and bring about. That truly will be something else. Oy vey, says Henry of the Revolution. Nice to see you again, Henry. My right hand is slowly moving towards my special area, located between... Oh, wait, I'm assuming it's my legs, but the chat just jumped. Here we are. No. Yes. Where am I? Here. My right hand, as I was saying, Dilbert says, my right hand is slowly moving towards my special area, located between my legs. And then he does a barf face, the, nauseated face, and and the monkey that sees no evil. If touching yourself, look, it all depends on why you're touching yourself. If you're still, if you're still like 15, 16, or I don't know what, or even in your 40s or 50s or 60s, but you're truly exploring yourself sexually, that's one thing. If it creeps more than you would like to, slowly towards your special area, then that might be something that's not as cool. Either way, why the nauseated face? Does it nauseate you to move your hand? Is your special area nauseating you? As for seeing no evil, do you think your special area is evil? Do you think touching your special area is evil? I'd love to know the answers as you see them, Dilbert, sir. Or not, it's a personal sort of thing. So I wouldn't fault you for saying I'll sit this one out. I can, yes. Sneezer says, to Oregon, it will look like we are all trying very hard to be better than Jesus. That's when we know. When you know, you know. So according to Sneezer, when we know, then we will be trying to do better than Jesus. So Sneezer considers Jesus to be this perfection, this ideal, this thing that has always existed and came in the body, that whole thing, right? Took the sins of the world. And so, better than Jesus. Yes, better than any of us have ever been. But there's a very famous story about Rabbi Zusha, who lived a few hundred years ago, and his brother Rabbi Elimelech Milizansk and Rabbi Zusha Manipoli. And Rabbi Zusha said, I'm not afraid that when I die, they will ask me, Zusha, why weren't you like Moses? Or better than Moses? I fear that when I go up after I die, they will ask me, Zusha, why weren't you Zusha? And when people say, be yourself, as far as I'm concerned, in the Mosaic Torah sense, be who you are meant to be. Bring that into existence. There's great potential. There's a great gift you have to give to the world, to quote David Data in the Way of the Superior Man. So being better than Jesus, you could see that. That's your metric. That's your scale. That's your ideal. Cool. As a Christian, obviously, I wouldn't think that's what you would say. And to me, it's to be better, period, as opposed to better than Jesus. Grabenkrieger Soldan says, Christian or Jew, I'm Christian myself. I am a Jew of the kingdom of Judah. Good Time says, he just learned that last night. He just learned that last night? What are we discussing here? What are we talking about here? Ariel says, remember the bracha, Dilbert might want to find a certified rabbi for that. Well, if you are circumcising yourself, and that's what you were talking about, and not touching yourself, well, forget what I said, but keep it in mind. Sneezer says, Holy Spirit is Jesus' helper. I believe it to be Ruach, the Spirit of God that can inhabit us. Okay, so for you it's more like Shekhinah after a fashion, something that dwells within you. Okay. Right? They will make me a temple and I will dwell in them. Henry says, why have the Jews been hated for thousands of years? What are they doing? Well, only from history, it's because we are different or not different enough. It's because we are rich or because we are poor. It's because we are tall or because we are short. It's because we come from a certain geographical location, or because we don't come from a certain geographical location. It's about not going back to a geographical location that some people say we should go back to. It's about going back precisely to the geographical location where some people said we ought to go. It is about the Hebrew God, and it's about the non-Hebrew gods. It's about the Torah, and it's about everything but Torah. Am I getting through to you? That's the tip of the iceberg. All of them lies, Henry says. Lies? Jesus is fake, says Good Times TV. Sneezer says every name belongs to God, having created them. Well, again, it's that idea of the letters and the crowns, punctuation and melody. And it's a revelation of God. As for belonging, he is the creator. These are creations. So, yes, correct. Jews follow the Talmud, says Henry of the Revolution. Some Jews follow the Talmud. Some follow it more, some follow it less. But yes, Jews keep halacha. Not all Jews keep Orthodox halacha. Some maintain that is the only true halacha. And yet we see differences there as well, with people, different rabbis, different opinions, different origins in the diaspora, let's say, or places of exile, and they brought traditions from there. when they converged in the land of Israel. Good Times said, G had a message retracted. G, I know this was a long time ago, 36 minutes ago or so. I don't know if you're still here. I would like to hear that message, or listen to it, I mean. Read it. Read it. Found it. Getting a bit tired. It's been an hour, but I'm going to keep going. I want to see how this chat turns out. Good Time says he is the God of Israel. That's who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the everlasting one, the master of the universe. Agreed, all of those titles, all of those names also signify different revelations of God. Kat, hi Kat. Why are there so many religious nuts talking gibberish here? Okay, two things. First, my apologies. You don't have to stay. It was 30 minutes ago, maybe you left. Second, you do count me among them, correct? Tell me you count me among them, at least. Jesus is God, says Danny B. Hi, Danny B. How's it being? Good Time says Jesus is fake. That's a creation. God is the creator. Right? If it's not the creator, it's all creation. And if I can perceive it, it is not God. If I can sense it with one of my senses, it is not God. It's a revelation of God. A low one, a high one, as it were. It's not even a real creation. You're worshiping a fake creation, says Good Times TV. Well, what do you mean by fake? What if the end justifies the means? What if the end justifies the means? Because because they are not of the tribe of Israel. So Good Times TV, if there are Gentiles, meaning not people who are not of our tribes, then what is the problem therein of worshiping a fake God if you receive God's word in such a way where you are oriented towards the good? I know, subjective, whatever, but towards the good, where it's good for you, good for your family, friends, those around you, and the benefits are kind of self-evident throughout time, right? In the process of time. Okay. So when you say it's not a real creation, according to you, Jesus is fake, but there are those who created him. And so it is a real creation in the sense of, maybe you say it's man-made, but so were many idols and sigils and statues, and all of it's man-made. So I don't fault people necessarily who want to cleave to a religion and set of rules where their ideal, their Messiah, their King, their Lord of Lords and God of Gods, or whatever it is, right? Their Savior is somebody who is beyond perfect, that we need to emulate. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not a Christian. I don't follow Jesus, never have. And like I love to say, maybe if I was around in Jerusalem at the time, I would have followed him. But worshiping a fake creation is what many people have been doing throughout history and still. What is the problem? What is the damage here? I honestly understand, not accusing you of anything. Hold your horses, buddy, Cat, says Rasol. Hi, Rasol. Jesse says, Torah says Yod He Vav He is. Yes, and not Jesus. Good Time says, couldn't even save himself, and that's who your God is? How disgusting are you? Well, once again, I understand to the degree that I can the Christian claim or messianic claim of a human being dying for our sins and being resurrected, because it's kind of a not a smoking gun. Well, a kind of a smoking gun, because according to Christians, there's supposed to be a second coming. According to Christians, he was fulfilling a covenant of Torah. According to Christians, he sacrificed himself. That's why they call him a lamb. And it's not a question of whether or not he could save himself. He was trying to show something to the human beings that he walked, among whom he walked. And God took it upon himself to come in human form, to kill himself, to sacrifice himself, be betrayed, go through all of that misery, in order to teach Christians, followers of Jesus, how to behave in the world and what to emulate. I don't follow it theologically, practically, but I understand it conceptually. And there is merit to taking on a yoke of commandments, rules, laws, regulations. It could come into question because people do horrible things in the name of God, obviously, but just the idea, the concept of keeping a set of rules in order to better oneself so you can be better than the perfect man and connect to the divine, that's not awful from the onset. So I understand look, you speak the truth, you don't sugarcoat it, that's what you said, that's what you do. No problem, and no trouble for me, about that. You do you, man. As for disgusting, I don't see disgust there. I don't see disgust. I see a way for Christians and nations to follow, even if it is based on let's grant that, fake story, fake God, changed so many times, nobody knows what's going on, up is down, left and right, boo, 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 boo. Even so, and I don't know Christianity too well. Remember, I'm talking about a concept. As a concept, it might still work for me. I will be starting a new religion, says Dilbert. Good luck. It's a crowded market out there, but there's always room for more. Sneezer says to Good Times, I'm worshiping the one I met who planned world peace upcoming. Luyehi, may it be. World peace. Think it's a YMCA. It's going to stay at the user. GER says. YMCA. Okay, if you're Gentile, Good Time says, you can be righteous and still go to heaven. Indeed. All you have to do is follow the 7 laws of Noah, right? Be a Noahide, and common sense laws, and you'll be able to go to heaven. Going into heaven in a little rowboat. Good Time says you don't have to be Jewish to go to heaven. You can be who you are, but worship just the Creator and be a good person and follow basic commandments. I mean, I'm inclined to agree. That's a good path. It's not, at least according to Torah, that would be a good path for the nations. Now, the 7 laws of Noah is kind of contested, but yes, it's accepted, but in maybe a couple of things contested. But yeah, the 7 laws of Noah are rather good overall, a good code of conduct. I haven't went through them in succession recently, but I remember them being good overall. So neither says to Good Times, already been, and I know everyone eventually gets there because I seen them. So yeah, everybody gets there, you say. And you've already been. I hate pedophiles, child molesters are disgusting. Well, once again, I make the distinction. There's pedophiles and there's pederasts. Pedophiles are simply attracted to children. Maybe they can't help it. It's awful. Pederasty is child molestation. Many pedophiles are trying to contend with their, let's say, demons, with their own attractions. And I know, as somebody who is attracted to women, that it is one of the most amazingly sensitive and powerful things out there. So people maybe can't keep themselves from being attracted. They can keep themselves from acting on it. And that's child molestation. Child molesters are disgusting. Pedophiles, as such, who are attracted to people, to minors, to kids, and it's not even hebephiles, which are the older, right, adolescents. It's pedo, which is really kid. No, I don't hate them. Perhaps I have some hate for those who act on it, but I don't hate them. It's an attraction. And far be it from me to say, oh yeah, I hate them, they shouldn't be attracted, it's very easy, look, go to therapy, it'll be fine. No, attraction, it's something major. Good Time says it's not hard to be a righteous person. Give respect to your parents, believe in the one true God, and you're basically in there. Don't steal, don't kill. Rather simple, but not easy. No, I do believe that it's hard. I believe it's simple and hard. So I think it is hard to be a righteous person. I think it's hard to give respect, parents or otherwise. I'm sort of playing devil's advocate here, but I believe that belief throughout all of life can be difficult. Not stealing or killing, can't speak, well, in some senses it's not hard. And in some senses, it's definitely not easy. But yet, abstain from disrespecting your parents. Abstain from believing in other gods. Abstain from stealing. Abstain from killing. It's all thou shalt, so to speak. Good Time says Jewish people have different rules they have to follow, but they really be Jewish. I personally believe you have to be born into it. I don't put much stock in converts. Really, I'm curious. Good Times TV, why don't you put stock in converts? And while I asked a question now, let me just say, up until around 10 days ago, I was reading the chat, logging off whenever I did, and then reading the previous chats. I have a backlog now of a couple of weeks, and I must ask myself at this injunction of asking you about the converts, not injunction, in this junction of telling you, why don't you put stock in converts? And as I was saying it, I thought to myself, Yonatan, are you actually going to read it? So, I asked myself, I'm asking you, for the past 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, more like 10 days, I haven't been keeping up with the previous chats. I've been simply logging on and going to the chat as I am now, streaming and not going into any comments or previous chats that I hadn't finished, that I logged off before I could go through the whole thing. I do value your time. I do value your attention. I value your input so much. Your experience, your wisdom, your gems, your guidance and understanding. And so I must ask myself, what would be the best way to have you still understand practically that I care about your time, your kind attention, your words? On the other hand, I do want to be here and now live in the chat. And I have such a backlog, so much in the chat that for like about 10 days that I haven't touched. Is it actually viable somehow? Right now, at least, that I'm going every day, Sunday through Thursday. And I want to go live and I want to participate and I want to be here. And even in the live chat, right now I'm reading a chat from 9:30 and it's now 10:12. So I'm not even in the be here now with the be here now. So I tried different things, right? I only stayed with the chat as it was coming in, or I skip ahead. And all of these things I can't find, how would it be best? Now that a lot of people are showing up every single day, more and more people. And it's lovely. On the other hand, it's causing me to lose the chat, and I don't know what to do. So people near and far, regulars and newcomers, what is it that I should do about this live stream? How am I to act in such a way where I will be able to give my 2 cents and rant and ramble, but also have you understand that I definitely appreciate your time, and I don't want you to be embittered because I don't go back to the previous chats. Should I go back? Please let me know. And now, back to our scheduled programming. Jesus died to end sacrificing, says Sneezer. Bloodnose says, everyone alive and all those who have ever lived will be amazed on the day of revelation. Yes, I don't know. I mean, you mean the New Testament revelation? I'm just saying, revelation of God, that revelation that no man can see me and live, right? That ha'arat panim, the face to face. Not mouth to mouth, like with Moses, face to face, so to speak. Good Times TV, and even there will always be something separating us. Good Time says, Jesus is nothing. You were told a bunch of lies since you were a kid, brainwashed, and now you're stuck, and you have to find the truth. Funnily enough, many Christians who come here to the chat would say the exact same thing about you and I, and have done so to me anyway, and I say, okay, I'm willfully blind, I'm willfully ignorant, this is a path, this is tradition, I veer even from that tradition, but I'm still holding fast, I think, to the Torah, to the 5 books of Moses, right, to the Tanakh, to oral traditions as well. As for you have to find the truth, yes, there's a duty there. If you can afford it, if you can, yes, find truth. And I'm often reminded of what Professor Stephen Hawking said. He said, indeed, I'm paraphrasing, me being in this wheelchair, unable to move, has given me all the time in the world within my own mind. Wow. So find the truth. Find the truth. And some ways of doing it is quieting yourself, just like Stephen Hawking said in relation to his body, that not being able to move it brought, all that, he could devote all of that time, all of his efforts and resources to the mind. Finding the truth, indeed. He's just a creation, says Good Times, that's it, don't ever think. Your God is going to die. Nobody died for your sins also. Good Times continues and says, you're accountable for your own sins. I agree. This is why we have so many children that suffer, and people suffer in general. God doesn't want to just give you suffering or chooses at random. There is a random element to creation. There is a random element to creation, a kind of din. Right, that time, let's say, of between on the first half, the first half of the night. Tshvuah Rishona, no, Chatzot, the first half of the night. Gwal Gwen, hello, good to see you again. I think the idea of heaven is anti-life and anti-human because it makes life on earth worthless. See, I disagree. I don't know which heaven you mean. But it's precisely in relation to how we led life here that we will be able to partake of that tree of life later on. And when I say later, I mean something that has to do with time. And it's not even that. It's that beyond space and time, beyond the physical laws of nature, or if not beyond, our consciousness will be raised. If it's all running in parallel, the entire physical multiverse and the spiritual multiverse and everything in between, if all of it is running in parallel, and will also run in parallel after we partake of the fruit of the tree of life, I don't know how it will go down there then, but it's not there and then. There will be no there will be no then. It's not a question of space and time. It's something else entirely. Or, again, our feet are on the ground, but our head is in the highest spiritual realms. The righteous sit and their crown on their heads, and they bask in the light of the Shekhinah, of the divine feminine presence. And that crown on their head is said to be their woman, their feminine, their female counterpart. Not that righteous people, righteousness comes. Never mind. Let's carry on then. There's a lot of stuff in Judaism that's not logical. We don't understand every detail in Judaism, right? There's a chok, there's a mitzvah, there's a din, there's a Torah, mishpat. There are different sorts of commandments. Some that are logical, that you would come up of your own common sense even without the Torah. Some are pretty particular. Things like the red heifer, which is like, in commentary, it's said, why the red heifer? It's to give Israel that point where they can say, just because God says so. That's why I'm doing it. There is no logic to it at all. And it's said that Solomon the Wise, king of Israel, son of David, he got down to the bottom, to the very essence of every mitzvah and understood it to its core, every single one of them except for the red heifer. So yeah, things that are illogical, as it were, are not foreign to Judaism, not in the commandments, not in Midrash, definitely. It's the way that we manifest something spiritual here in the world, which does not make sense in a physical, logical sense. But it's a spiritual thing, because we have a root, and what we are doing here is manifesting that spiritual root and widening through physical action and through mental actions. Through thou shalt and thou shalt not. We are hopefully being able to channel more of that divine light and influence through widening, that passage through commandments and Torah. And things there that seem illogical by the time they get down here make perfect harmonious sense in the spiritual realms. There's a degradation of sorts. Things become more material, physical, which is why earth, the element of earth, is malchut, the lowest sphira. and right, cold and dry. Hello and good evening from Serbia. Hello, Miloš Milosevic. Wasn't he the dictator in the Serbia-Chechnya war? Am I remembering that correctly? Okay. No. Yes, Chechnya. I don't recall now. The Serbs were fighting the Chechens, right? Okay. Good Times TV says the commandments are definitely for Israel. The Shabbat is for Israel. The Sabbath isn't for them. Agreed. Not yet. They can work every day of the week. Agreed. But some universal concepts might be for them. And some universal laws, like thou shalt not kill, right? I'm sorry, it's not thou shalt not kill. It's thou shalt not murder. It's not lo taharog, it's lo tirtzach. Sneezer says, Good Times TV. Oh, I did much suffering right up till I met Jesus. Good Times then continues and says, you don't understand what you did to your life by idol worshiping. You signed your death certificate. We all have signed our death certificate ever since we came here. And God is going to pay you out in this world. And when you die, you're going to meet real suffering. Okay. So what if somebody worshipped idols, but was otherwise an amazing person, generous with his time, generous with his money, treats people with respect, is able to bring more people into acting like better humans and loving their neighbor? What then? Does it mean nothing? I understand you say he's going to pay you out in this world. I get that. You're saying that the good things they do, that will be paid in this world. The bad things they do, that carries on. I understand that, right, rabbinically, as it were. I get that. I don't agree with it, but I get it. However, you signed your death certificate. We all sign our death certificate every moment from the moment we come out of our mother's vagina. But it's a question of what we do with the time that we're given. Now what? And you are trying, if I understand Good Times TV, to convince the very same people who are trying to convince you that the way that they are going about it is wrong, the way that you are going about it is right, and that they should right their ways in accordance with what you deem is right, and vice versa. So it's an impasse because you're both kind of saying the same thing, right? Torah and the nations Yom Tov Erlich. Torah and the nations Yom Tov Erlich. I knew a dude in yeshiva named Erlich, but Torah and the nations Yom Tov Erlich. Is that a book? I'm assuming it's a book. Hang on, I'll look that up real quick. The Torah and the nations. Oh, Yiddish, it's a nigun. I don't know it. Or maybe I know it, but I don't know it by name. I don't know. Okay. The Good Times, okay, then if you insist, says Sneezer. Oh, all right, Good Times. Mission accomplished, man. Feel free to stay. Obviously, I'm not kicking you out, but looks like you finally got through to him, man. Dilbert says, last night, now, again, what's this she in quotes? She parted her legs like Moses parted the Red Sea. Party face, tongue out smiley. Well, let me put it this way. I am happy that you're getting some. It's good to get laid. I love it that she was able to guide you to the promised land, and that you were able to make it there too. So, or no, actually you didn't say that there was any penetration. So maybe you did get just to the border, and then, it died. I hope you're not impotent or have any kind of, erection issues. Dilbert. If you're saying that she parted her legs and did take you to the promised land, well, good for you. I hope that you treated her with respect. I hope you took care of her, first or afterwards, as the case may be. Sneezer says, Good Times TV, what you wish on others always return to you. Well, Good Times TV, what do you think in this case? Does the halachic sort of idea of kol haposel bemumo posel, all that, hold on. what would be the immediate translation? Oh, come on. Anyone who sort of counts you out because of, never mind. Well, where's my Hebrew? Where's my English? I mean, where's my English? It's already been almost an hour and a half. Maybe that's a sign that I should say goodnight. If I'm not able to give an immediate translation, even now still, though I'm talking and not thinking of it, to kol haposel b'mumo posel, then no, I think I'm going to say goodnight. Although I do want to skip ahead just for a moment to see if I had any comments from you people on how I should organize the chat. And if you don't, and if you haven't, then please, it goes to private immediately after the live stream, but it will be public within a few seconds, a minute. Leave a comment. If I didn't get to something here, maybe I'll be in the comments for the next half hour. If you want to leave a comment, please do so. And it's been so much fun. Oh my God. I don't know how many of you people out there are content creators or creative in any way, but it's so lovely. It's so wonderful to be here with you, to build this little group. It's such a great blessing that I need to be here and telling you, man, I'm not getting to the backlog. It's growing and growing, and I keep chatting and chatting, ranting and raving and rambling and I can't get to all of the great things that you people are saying. I love it that that's the case. And I appreciate the vote of confidence, every like, every view, every sub, every horrific, what's that, in the shorts. I'm sure there are so many of those. I would love to see a reel, right, of people who are scrolling on their shorts feed and I come up. I think that would be hilarious. Hey, YouTube, hey, hi. Listen, would you please somehow create very, very short, like 2 minutes, not a half hour, 2 minutes of faces of people who were scrolling their shorts and I arrived on their screen, and the faces they pulled, the things they said. I would love like a quick best of. I would love to see that. So let's see. Did you guys say anything about how I should organize the chat? I said that, a few minutes ago? Let's look back. Oh, not Chechnya. Right, Bosnia. That's right. Bosnia, not Chechnya. My mistake. Okay. I'm not seeing anything. When did I speak of it? Did I speak of it 10 minutes ago? Was it more than 10 minutes ago? I don't know. All right, I'm not seeing it now. Another religious bastard in the live, says Unfortunate Pixel. Well, it's unfortunate for you because you came across the live stream. And religious, I don't consider myself religious like Orthodox, but yes, as for bastard, as far as I know, I'm not a bastard. However, sometimes I am a son of a bitch. Okay, so let's say goodnight. If you have anything to say, I'll be around in the comments, but the live is kind of, it's been an hour and a half, and I love it. Thank you. Hopefully, Yah willing, I will see you tomorrow, 9 p.m., more Orot HaTshuvah, more Q&A, more things in the chat that I may or may not get to, even though I deeply appreciate every comment and like and slur and troll. Oh, those sweet trolls. They support Israel so much. They don't even know it until they arrive at this channel. On that positive note, may we have a blessed new moon, bountiful, blissful, peace on earth. May we reach that point. May we be able to orient ourselves and live such a life. May I be able to do it. Can't speak for you guys. Where we will be able to bring that moon to shine like the sun, and the sun like the 7 days of creation. And it will be something brand new. And it will be back the way it shone when it was just created, before it was diminished. Atonement, a day of atonement, a day of Hallel, of praise the new moon is. A day when the shofar, right, the ram's horn and the chatzotzvot, the horns, the silver horns were sounded at the temple, and I tomorrow will be sounding my little shofar. I would do it now, I guess, as well for you guys, but people are sleeping. It is 10:30 p.m., and I'm finally signing off. Thanks for being here. Hope to see you again.